All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Carla Hick, one of the seed security coordinators for Farm Folk City Folk. Myself and the entire seed security team, along with collaborating Seedy Saturday organisers, offers you a big welcome to the first ever BC Virtual Seedy Saturday Conference. In a normal pandemic year, spring is filled with Seedy Saturday events throughout BC and across the globe. These gatherings serve as community venues to share seed saving and gardening knowledge, swap seeds, and provide platforms for local seed companies, farmers, and crafters to sell their curated products. COVID-19 has increased awareness of local food and seed issues nationwide, while simultaneously making it difficult for us to gather for resource and knowledge sharing. Through our Seedy Saturday capacity building program, we have heard that the Seedy Saturday organizers needed help in the 2021 season to deliver pandemic-friendly events. In response, we decided to collaboratively host this conference. And Seedy Saturdays naturally by design are local events and should remain so. However, the pandemic has led us to seek alternative ways to meet. This conference will provide space for the public to learn about gardening, seed saving, local seed vendors, and more. I'd like to pass things off to David Katzel, our Seed Security Program Manager, for a land acknowledgement. Thanks.
Thanks, Carla. So at Farm Folk City Folk, our staff and board are honestly and humbly aware of the role in the systemic oppression of Indigenous food systems and BIPOC food leaders. We're actively looking for ways to use our networks and relationships and resources to amplify the work of these Indigenous people and people of color who are food leaders and seed sovereignty advocates. And as one tiny step on this journey, we have adopted the practice, like many have, of acknowledging the territory of the Indigenous people whose lands we are working on. So I would like to acknowledge that we're gathered virtually today from the traditional and unceded territories and food systems of many Indigenous people across what is now commonly known as British Columbia. I specifically mention food systems because what settlers saw as unused land or wilderness was actually a thriving food system stewarded carefully for millennia by the Indigenous people who lived here. We are gathered to celebrate seeds as well. They're an essential part of the food cycle. And it's important that we recognize that Indigenous people saved seeds across the globe for centuries. Seed saving and breeding is not a new technique started by settlers. It's actually due to thousands of years of Indigenous seed stewardship that we have the genetic wealth of food plants available to us today. So I want to acknowledge that many of the seeds that we're swapping at these Seedy Saturdays, they're part of a type of farming that's based primarily on annual crops that require tillage and sometimes synthetic inputs. And although at Farm Folk City Folk, we try to promote a more sustainable approach in this system, it's still important to realize that Indigenous food systems are here, were here, they're still here, and they're based primarily on crops, perennial crops, and hunting and fishing. And while many Indigenous people in this place known as BC have adopted the colonially introduced approach to producing food from annually seeded crops, many communities still rely heavily on their traditional food systems. And it's important that we recognize this in our agricultural work and food systems work and promote the protection of those food systems. The food system here did not evolve around those who were living here for thousands of years, it evolved with them. And if we're to try to understand them, then we must open our minds and hearts and learn from those people whose ancestors were a part of it. And I invite and encourage all of you to learn more about which nations' unceded lands you're on and what food sustains them. And I also invite you next time you're hiking through what you might have considered wilderness to consider that you were actually walking through a very intact and sustainable functioning food system. So thank you. And now I have the great pleasure of introducing the Honourable Lana Popham, Minister of Agriculture, Food and Fisheries. At Farm Folk, we're thrilled to be working closely with Minister Popham's team on a number of projects where our mission to connect, empower, and inspire people to strengthen BC's sustainable food systems align with her mandate. We know her to be a strong advocate of organic and regenerative farming and for seed saving. And in fact, I believe she has a seed library in her office. So the Ministry of Agriculture supported the purchase in 2019 of a mobile seed cleaning trailer that Farm Folk City Folk put together, and has now toured across much of the southern part of British Columbia. It's cleaned over 100,000 pounds of seeds from over 50 different varieties. Um, we know she has big visions to expand the production of BC grown seeds, and we look forward to working more with her on this in the future. Please join me in welcoming Minister Popham.
Thank you so much. That's quite an introduction. I appreciate it. I do have a seed library in my constituency office. And then I also have this amazing artifact, many, many years old, which was from an original Ministry of Agriculture noxious seed collection. So I have vials of noxious seeds from way back then that they used to educate their employees on what were the bad seeds and what were the good seeds. And so, yes, I absolutely love seeds, and I absolutely love you guys. I'm so happy to be here with you this evening on one of the best nights of the year, Seedy Saturday Eve. I'm so happy also to be speaking to you from the traditional territories of the WSÁNEĆ peoples on the Saanich Peninsula. Not a day goes by that I don't think about what these lands were like when they were in their natural system, supporting a natural food system. I think about that every day. And I know that our agricultural vision has changed over the years, but it's very important for us to reconnect and to understand what our natural environments can add to our production capabilities. And that's really where the tie-in to regenerative agriculture comes. I want to express my extreme gratitude for the organizers. This is a huge deal that you've organized this, the first ever virtual BC-wide Seedy Saturday. I can't believe that there's so many people that have signed up, but it really just shows how important seeds are to folks, and maybe how much more important food security is, since we've managed to almost get through a pandemic that we never thought was going to happen. I can't believe what a crazy year 2020 was. There's many lessons learned that have come from it. And I would like to acknowledge the toll that it's taken on people all across the province, including farmers, small, medium, and large scale. There has been an extreme weight on our mental health. And I've really been encouraged to see people reach out to others just to make sure they're doing okay, to say hello. We've been doing a lot of virtual meetings, but sometimes that's the only contact we have with other people throughout our weeks. And so the smiles that you bring to other people are extremely important right now. And they're very important to me, to know that somebody cares about you, can help you get through a very difficult time. So the idea that this year has changed things is an understatement, of course, but it's brought us Zoom. It's brought us this repetitive command that we thought we might have gotten over when we were children, but to wash our hands over and over and over again. But there's other things as well that has shone a light on I guess how vulnerable we are as a planet. There has also been focus put on political action around the world around farmers. For example, I know many British Columbians come from farming families that come from India. And recently, it's been very stressful for folks to witness the reaction to farmers' peaceful protests in India. And I understand why people are so concerned. I hope every day that people remain safe. I believe very strongly in the democratic process and believe in the right to peacefully protest. And I hope that a safe solution is found soon for our friends in India. The reaction to food systems and vulnerability has been similar all around the world, as more and more people start to appreciate the value of our local food systems. The pandemic has brought a spotlight to many of us, but it's brought a spotlight to something that we have been talking about for a very long time. Probably everybody in this audience and everybody on this Zoom call has been talking about food security as part of the way they live their life, and I would include myself in that group. The importance of food security, the importance of local supply chains, the value of what food security brings to our province in a way that allows us to be more self-sufficient, sustainable, and resilient is it's priceless. And it's a lesson that we can learn, but if we don't learn from it this time, a door will close and we'll miss opportunities that we should have been taking advantage of. In my ministry, I have come into it as a minister with the idea of resilience the entire time, but I think the window has now opened up for others to recognize what kind of profile the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Fish should have in the province. And I do feel supported by our government, which is allowing me to move projects forward in a way that maybe a bit faster than they normally move in government. So that's a relief to me. If we're going to increase our food security and our food production in all of our communities around BC, we need to engage and invite and motivate British Columbians of all backgrounds in all regions to get their hands dirty and to get farming. And we need to have programs that support people when they show that interest, and we need to allow the supports there for them to succeed. Our government has developed programs targeting British Columbians who want to farm, but may not have always had the opportunities or the resources. And that's because we're wanting to improve our food security without leaving anybody behind. If they want the opportunity to participate as well, we need to help both large scale farmers, medium scale, and small farmers succeed. And we need to connect people who are interested in farming to the land that they can farm. We need to make specific efforts to involve Indigenous communities. We have been developing programs within our ministry to specifically reach out to Indigenous governments, to community organizations, to get, they were designed to allow people to enter into agriculture, to get interested in agriculture, but we also acknowledge in many cases with Indigenous folks, it's to re-enter into agriculture. We have a lot to learn from the history of agriculture long before we were involved. So as an example of some of the successes, it's always good to celebrate at a night like this. We had a First Nation in Southwest BC worked through the program that we developed to find a way to develop and have a marketing strategy for their school farm. And I think this is really important because it allows the education to start at a young age, and we all know how important it is to start those lessons early. We expanded our program in 2020 to help Indigenous entrepreneurs wanting to build and plan their food and agricultural businesses, so allowing for business supports. And COVID-19 or not, we've seen success there. And that's what I think is a silver lining during the pandemic. There is many successes on the food security level. And an example of that is an Indigenous farming family in the Peace region with a mixed grain and livestock farm worked with a business coach that we provided to develop plans for an expansion, which is great. In another instance, a family-run mixed vegetable and berry permaculture farm and food forest operation in northern BC has developed a business plan to extend their growing season, which I found to be very exciting. We're also doing more to get other British Columbians to get their hands dirty and to start growing food. We've helped more than 100 farmers start crop and livestock production on more than 5,000 acres through our BC land matching program. Many of you know the wonderful folks at the Young Agrarians, and our partnership with them through government has been incredible. Over the 2020 time period, we managed almost 50 matches in regions around the province, and that's through the pandemic. That's pretty incredible. The program, of course, matches people who want to farm with farmland owners who want to lease it. And so if you have any land that you know that's available, or you know any young farmers, or you have some extra seeds in your pocket and you want to plant them, just get a hold of us. We are here to help, and I have an enthusiastic, amazing team in the ministry. We can do more than just help you secure land to grow. We can also help you increase your farm production with our business supports. And, I think that's one of the lessons that we learned at the beginning of the programming, is that you need to have a fair lease for farmers. You don't want farmers ending up on a farm that the lease ends just as they've set themselves up. And you also have to have business supports available, because I know amazing farmers that grow amazing food, but I can say they're not the best business people. So having that extra help is really good. We also launched a new program, and I'm going to tell you about it now because there will be a second offering for supports. The Small Farm Business Acceleration Program came out, and through this program and the funding that we provided, we found 64 small farms and helped them cost share infrastructure and equipment to grow their farm businesses. And I think that's pretty amazing. We don't normally have money for infrastructure within the ministry, but helping people buy a greenhouse, helping people set up their irrigation, it makes all the difference when you're starting out. I'm proud to say that I'm a chosen farmer, an organic seed producer here on Vancouver Island, took advantage of the program. And as a result, we'll be able to increase their production to meet the growing demand for organic seeds. So that's exciting news. We've also been focusing a lot of energy and resources on supporting BC farms and food businesses to pivot the way they do their sales during the pandemic. So as you know, anyone who sells through farmers markets or purchases things at farmers markets, you saw that we were able to shift. First off, we declared the farmers markets essential services, which is really important to allow farmers to survive through the pandemic with their business plans. But we also were able to support being quite nimble and supporting an e-commerce program for farmers markets. And I'll just tell you that this support went to about 70 local farmers markets in BC, and it came to a tune of $2.4 million in sales because of that shift. And so that to me just shows that farmers, there's a lot of resilience that's built into a farmer. And the biggest challenge that we've seen in a very long time, people were still able to be successful, and we were able to be the wind at their back, which always makes me happy. Buy BC is more important than it's ever been, and consumers are looking for it. You may be noticing that there is more intense advertising with Buy BC right now. I don't know if there's any hockey fans in the audience, but if you've been watching hockey games lately, the Buy BC ads are showing up on television. We have them on buses, we've got them in magazines, but there's never been a more important time to use this program. And we literally have funding waiting for you. I was disappointed and surprised to know that there have been no seed companies in BC that have applied for Buy BC funding. And so I'm going to encourage anybody who's a seed grower out there, or a seed producer, a seed business, to apply for the Buy BC logo, because we do have funding there to help you, and we will help you with your marketing. So throughout the pandemic, we've seen a growing interest, of course, in supporting food systems. I have a new mandate to create a regenerative agriculture network. We want to use agri-tech on small scale, medium scale, and large scale farms to help reduce pesticides, to be able to identify disease more quickly, and to also address issues around animal welfare. And by looking at a regenerative agriculture network, we know that there's already farmers that are committed to this way of growing, and we want to make sure that we tap in to everybody who's got great ideas. And so I'm going to ask you to reach out to our ministry as we move forward and develop this network. It's not going to be developed with its full potential without your input. So contact us if you're interested in regenerative agriculture. We have agri-tech companies that are looking to pair up with farms all across BC to do things such as measure carbon in the soil. And so we need to be able to tap into your database and your, of course, all of your amazing ideas. So here's the greatest thing about tonight, in my view, is what I'm going to tell you next. We have been developing a food hub network around the province. And we probably by the end of next week, we'll have announced 12 locations for food processing hubs. Now, the food processing hubs, for those of you who don't know, we're partnering up with communities and asking communities to come forward with spaces that we can create shared food processing spaces. The ministry doesn't buy the buildings, but we populate it with cutting edge food processing equipment to support food entrepreneurs create their products. Within these hubs, we also do business support. So think to yourself, we've got 12 now. Within my budget every year, I have a chance to do about 2 or 3 per year. So why am I talking to you about food processing hubs? What does this have to do with seed saving? Well, in these hubs around the province, we will incorporate seed cleaning equipment and seed packaging equipment wherever there's a business case to do so. So a few years ago, we partnered with Farm Folk, City Folk, who have the mobile seed cleaner in the Lower Mainland, and you heard how successful that was. This has proven to be invaluable in helping the cleaning, sales, and planting of BC seeds. But having seed cleaning and packaging equipment in food hubs around the entire province could be a whole new level of seed cleaning and sales potential, not only as an opportunity to establish cleaning equipment and storage space in support of seed growers, but to help seed producers using the hubs connect with our ministry's business planning and marketing services. So in the coming years, when we can come together to share and celebrate our love of food and farming at Seedy Saturdays around the province, there will be more British Columbians from all backgrounds participating and more BC seeds available in packages with the Buy BC logo on them, in our hands, on our farms, and in the ground, increasing our food supply and making our communities places that we love being part of. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you to everybody who's participating tonight. I hear there's hundreds of you. Thank you for your interest in making sure BC becomes as sustainable and as resilient as it can be. Have a great conference, and I look forward to the guest speakers.
Thanks so much, Lana. We really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, yeah, thank you so much. I'm just going to say a couple more words and then I'll pass it off to Carla to give you some updates on what's coming up next. Carla alluded to this in the introduction, that this event that we're holding, it's never going to replace the across the table interactions that we're all used to, nor is that our intention. This event came about because of lots of discussions with lots of different Seedy Saturday groups, and it's a hugely collaborative event. It's not ours, it belongs to all of the Seedy Saturday organizers and all of you as well. Seedy Saturday events are very local grassroots events. And I wanted to share a story that really touched me around seeds and the collaborative, how seeds are just innately collaborative, and how we can be collaborative with them. You may have heard it. It was a story that went around on social media for a little while ago, and I'll just read it to you. So there was a farmer named Aaron Avner, who grew exceptional quality corn. Every year he won the award for the best corn grown. One year, a newspaper reporter interviewed him and learned something interesting about how he grew it. The reporter discovered that the farmer shared his corn seed with his neighbors, his best corn seed. How can you afford to share your best corn seed with your neighbors when they're entering corn in the exact same competition as you every year? The reporter asked. Why, sir, said the farmer, didn't you know? The wind picks up pollen from the ripening corn and swirls it from field to field. If my neighbor grows inferior corn, cross-pollination will steadily degrade the quality of my corn. And if I'm to grow good corn, I must help my neighbors grow good corn. And I feel like it's that sort of sharing that these events are about. We're all trying to help each other grow the best seeds that we can grow out there. And on that note, we're trying our best to replicate some form of a seed swap through this event. But I still encourage you to get out into your local communities, do so safely, following provincial guidelines, but please do continue to do so because by continuing to trade seeds amongst yourselves, you are contributing to the sustainable food systems and food sovereignty of the future. So thank you. And I will hand it back over to Carla.
Thanks, David. And thanks everyone on the BC Seed Security team at Farm Folk City Folk for all your hard work in putting this conference together. And again, a big thank you to the Seedy Saturday organizers that have been collaborating with us. This would not be possible without you. So yeah, we have an exciting weekend lined up. It's jam-packed schedule. Next up, we have a movie screening of Seed, the Untold story. That starts at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and the link is in your email. If you registered after 4:50 p.m., we will send out another email so that you can join the movie. And then we have Dr. Vandana Shiva herself joining us for a keynote address at 8 p.m. Pacific time. So that will be live streamed on Facebook again. So there's no Zoom link for that. So you can join that on Facebook. And we will also record it and share it on YouTube later. And if you still haven't registered for the conference, there is still time. So you can head over to bcseeds.org. Has all of the conference information, schedule, session bios, and we do have a fun-filled weekend with exciting speakers. We have seed vendors, there's a silent auction, seed swap, and then we will end the weekend with a community discussion room. And if you, so just please be advised that the links are in your email, and we'll send out another email. And thank you very much, Lana, again for joining us. Appreciate it. Have a great night, everybody, and thank you for joining us at the conference.